Imagine a journey through time, tracing the footsteps of a visionary and his creation that forever changed the automobile landscape. Louis Renault, a name synonymous with innovation, started with a simple yet bold experiment on the streets of Paris. This tale of Renault's rise, amid trials and triumphs, is more than a story of cars. It's a narrative of human ingenuity and determination. Ready to delve into a tale of technological breakthroughs and personal challenges? The spark of genius, Louis Renault's early innovations. At the heart of every great invention lies a spark of genius, an inspired moment where vision and reality converge. For Louis Renault, this moment arrived on Christmas Eve, 1898. Picture this: a 21-year-old fresh from the army, brimming with ideas and mechanical prowess. In the garage of his parents' house, young Renault was not just tinkering with machines, he was about to revolutionize the automotive world. Louis Renault's first creation was not just any car, it was a testament to his mechanical ingenuity. Built by hand, this vehicle was based on a humble tricycle. But what set it apart was something no one had seen before: the direct drive transmission, a groundbreaking innovation that became the first gearbox in automotive history. This wasn't just a minor improvement, it was a leap forward, setting the stage for all future automobiles. The true test of Renault's invention came on the steep inclines of Lepic Street in Montmartre. Here's where our story takes an interesting turn. Non-believing friends challenged Renault, betting his car couldn't conquer the hill. Little did they know, they were betting against a mechanical prodigy. With his voiturette, Renault didn't just climb the hill, he soared past expectations, winning the bet, and more importantly, securing orders for 12 more units. This wasn't just a victory. It was a clarion call announcing the arrival of a new player in the automotive field. Renault's ingenuity didn't stop there. Within just 2 years, the company he formed with his brothers Marcel and Fernand was on a rapid ascent. The Renault factory, bustling with 110 employees, was a hive of innovation. Here, new patents were being registered, notable among them being the turbocharger, a technological marvel that enhanced engine efficiency and performance. But what truly set the Renault brothers apart was their strategic insight. Recognizing the power of brand recognition, they ventured into the world of automobile competitions. Their cars didn't just participate, they dominated. In 1901, Renault vehicles clinched the first 4 positions in the Paris-Bordeaux rally. This was more than just winning. It was a demonstration of superior engineering and performance. The year 1902 marked another milestone for Renault. The introduction of their first 2-cylinder engine laid the groundwork for a 4-cylinder engine, powering the car that later triumphed in the Paris-Vienna race. Driven by Marcel Renault, this victory was not just about speed, it was about resilience and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Tragedy, however, was lurking around the corner. In 1903, during the Paris-Madrid rally, Marcel Renault met with a fatal accident. This was a devastating blow, not just to the Renault family but to the burgeoning automotive empire. Faced with this loss, Louis and Fernand made a crucial decision. They continued in competitions, but now with professional drivers. This decision was not just about safeguarding lives, it was a strategic move to focus on their core strength, building exceptional cars. As the Renault brand grew, so did its influence. By 1905, the company received significant orders, including 250 taxis for Paris and London. This was a time when Renault taxis started to become a familiar sight, not just in Europe, but also in far-off lands like New York and Buenos Aires. It was a sign of a brand transcending borders, a testament to the vision of its founders. The rise of Renault, pioneering moments and industrial growth. As the 20th century dawned, Renault embarked on a journey that would etch its name in the annals of industrial history. From the garages of Paris to the forefront of the automotive industry, Renault's rise was not just about cars. It was a saga of innovation, ambition, and strategic brilliance. The early 1900s were a time of feverish activity at Renault. With Louis Renault at the creative helm, the company was rapidly outgrowing its humble beginnings. Picture a bustling factory with 110 employees, each playing a part in crafting vehicles that were more than just a means of transport. They were marvels of engineering. Renault's innovations were not limited to the garage. The company was filing patents that would leave a lasting impact on the industry, including the turbocharger and the direct drive gearbox. One strategic move that set Renault apart was its foray into automobile racing. In 1901, Renault cars swept the Paris-Bordeaux Rally, securing the first 4 positions. This triumph was not just a victory lap, it showcased Renault's superior engineering and reliability to the world. The company's racing prowess continued to shine, with victories in prestigious events like the Paris-Berlin race. Each win was a testament to the Renault brothers' vision and the company's relentless pursuit of excellence. But Renault's story is not just about racing circuits and roaring engines. In 1902, the company introduced its first 2-cylinder engine, a precursor to the more powerful 4-cylinder engine that would later dominate the Paris-Vienna race. This technological leap was a significant milestone, illustrating Renault's commitment to innovation and improvement. Tragedy, however, was never far behind. The death of Marcel Renault in the Paris-Madrid Rally of 1903 was a stark reminder of the risks involved in pushing the boundaries of speed and technology. Yet in the face of loss, Louis and Fernand Renault made a pivotal decision to continue participating in races, albeit with professional drivers. This decision reflected their resilience and unwavering focus on advancing automotive technology. The Renault narrative is also a story of expansion and diversification. By 1905, Renault was receiving large orders, including 250 taxis for Paris and London. These Renault taxis soon became a staple on the streets of major cities like New York and Buenos Aires, symbolizing the brand's growing international presence. The company's expansion was not just geographical. Renault was also diversifying its product range, venturing into the production of aircraft engines by 1907. This foray into aviation marked a new chapter in Renault's history, demonstrating its ability to innovate across different sectors. The year 1909 brought another blow to the Renault family with the death of Fernand Renault. Louis now found himself as the sole leader of the company. Despite personal loss and the challenges of leadership, Louis's vision for Renault never dimmed. Under his stewardship, the company continued to grow, employing over 5,000 workers by 1914 and maintaining a stable annual production of 4,200 units. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 presented Renault with new challenges and opportunities. The French Ministry of War recognized the company's manufacturing prowess, awarding it 31 contracts for various military supplies, including aircraft engines and munitions. Renault's contribution to the war effort was not limited to manufacturing. Its taxis played a crucial role in transporting troops to the front lines, earning them the nickname Taxis of the Marne. Tragedies and triumphs, personal losses and professional victories. The story of Renault and Louis Renault is one woven with threads of both profound sorrow and remarkable success. It's a narrative that reflects the stark duality of life's experiences, where personal tragedies and professional victories often exist side by side. In 1903, the Renault brothers faced their first major personal tragedy. During the perilous Paris-Madrid race, Marcel Renault, Louis's younger brother and a key figure in the company, suffered a fatal accident. This event was a somber reminder of the inherent risks in their line of work, casting a shadow over the company's burgeoning success. Marcel's death was not just a loss of a brother for Louis, it represented the loss of a partner and a visionary mind. Despite this profound grief, Louis and Fernand, the remaining brothers, soldiered on, driven by determination and the legacy Marcel left behind. The tragedy, however, did not halt Renault's march toward success. In fact, it marked a turning point, propelling the company into new realms of innovation and expansion. The years following Marcel's death saw Renault solidify its position as a major player in the automotive industry. The company diversified its production, venturing into the manufacture of aircraft engines, and in doing so, set numerous airspeed records. This period also marked Renault's increasing involvement in military production, aligning the company's capabilities with the national interests of France. Renault's foray into military production became particularly significant with the outbreak of World War I. The company's factories were repurposed to meet the demands of war, producing trucks, ambulances, and most notably, the Renault FT-17 tank. This light tank played a crucial role in the war, helping to break the stalemate of trench warfare. The Renault FT-17's innovative design and effectiveness cemented Renault's reputation as a versatile and capable manufacturer, not just of automobiles, but of vital military equipment as well. But amidst these triumphs, Louis faced another personal loss. In 1909, Fernand Renault, the eldest brother and a key figure in the company's commercial activities, passed away after a battle with illness. This left Louis as the sole helmsman of the Renault empire. Dealing with the loss of both his brothers, Louis found himself navigating not just the challenges of a rapidly growing company, but also the loneliness of leadership. However, he proved to be a resilient leader, steering the company through these turbulent times with a steady hand. The post-war era brought new challenges and opportunities for Renault. The end of military contracts meant a shift back to civilian production. Louis, ever the visionary, adapted quickly, expanding Renault's product line to include not just automobiles, but also trucks, buses, and tractors. This diversification was a strategic move to stabilize the company in a post-war economy marked by uncertainty and fluctuating demands. The 1920s and 1930s were decades of both consolidation and innovation for Renault. The company continued to grow, both in size and reputation, establishing itself as a major industrial power in France and beyond. During this time, Renault also made significant advancements in automobile technology, introducing new models that set benchmarks in design, efficiency, and performance. Renault in the global arena, expansion and competition. In the tapestry of the automotive industry, the early 20th century was a time of rapid transformation and fierce competition. For Renault, this era was not just about growth, it was about asserting its presence on the global stage, navigating through the intricacies of international markets, and engaging in a relentless pursuit of innovation and excellence. As the 1920s dawned, Renault was already a well-established name in the automotive industry. But Louis Renault, the visionary leader, was not one to rest on his laurels. The post-World War I era saw the company expanding its reach beyond the French borders, venturing into new and uncharted territories. This period marked the beginning of Renault's global journey, transforming it from a French success story to a global industrial powerhouse. Renault's expansion strategy was multi-pronged and ambitious. The company ventured into the American market, recognizing the vast potential of the burgeoning automobile industry there. This move was not without its challenges. Renault found itself competing against well-established American manufacturers like Ford and General Motors. The competition was fierce, and the stakes were high. Renault had to innovate, adapt, and evolve to carve out a niche for itself in this highly competitive market. Back in Europe, Renault continued to push the boundaries of automotive engineering. The introduction of new models and the continuous improvement of existing ones kept the company at the forefront of the industry. Renault's vehicles were not just modes of transportation. They were symbols of innovation, style, and reliability. This commitment to excellence saw Renault cars being exported to various countries.
But Renault's main focus for exports would be North America, where it would once again face off against the Gulf,
establishing the brand as a global symbol of French engineering and design prowess. However, the journey was not without its bumps. The 1930s brought with them the Great Depression, a global economic downturn that affected industries worldwide. Renault was not immune to these challenges. The company faced declining sales and increased competition, both at home and abroad. The American market, in particular, proved to be a tough nut to crack, with domestic manufacturers dominating the landscape. In response to these challenges, Louis Renault made a strategic decision to diversify the company's product range further. This period saw Renault venturing into the production of commercial vehicles, including trucks and buses. This diversification was not just a business strategy, it was a survival tactic, enabling the company to weather the economic storm and maintain its growth trajectory. The competition was not just limited to commercial markets. The rivalry between Renault and other European manufacturers, particularly Citroën, was intense. The two companies constantly vied for market dominance, pushing each other to innovate and improve. This rivalry, while fierce, was a driving force for innovation and progress in the European automotive industry. Renault's global expansion was also marked by its foray into new and emerging markets. The company established factories in England and Belgium, extending its manufacturing capabilities beyond France. It was a move that not only expanded Renault's production capacity, but also its global footprint, making Renault cars more accessible to international customers. The 1930s also saw Renault making significant advancements in automotive technology. The company introduced several innovative models that set new standards in terms of performance, safety, and comfort. These advancements were not just about keeping up with the competition, they were about leading the industry, setting trends, and defining the future of automotive design and technology. In retrospect, this era of expansion and competition was a defining period for Renault. It was a time when the company established itself as a global player, facing challenges head-on and turning them into opportunities for growth and innovation. The fierce competition in both domestic and international markets pushed Renault to constantly evolve, adapt, and improve, cementing its position as a leader in the automotive industry. Challenges and setbacks, the interwar years, and economic struggles. The interwar years were a period of significant upheaval and transformation for Renault. This era, marked by economic volatility and societal change, posed numerous challenges and setbacks for the company, testing its resilience and adaptability. Following the end of World War I, Renault, like many other industrial giants, faced the daunting task of transitioning from wartime production back to civilian manufacturing. This shift was not seamless. The company had to reconfigure its factories, recalibrate its production lines, and realign its market strategies to cater to a peacetime economy. The immediate post-war years were a time of readjustment and reorientation for Renault. The 1920s brought with them the promise of economic prosperity, but this period was also rife with challenges. The automotive industry was becoming increasingly competitive, with new players entering the market and existing ones expanding their reach. Renault found itself in a fierce competition, not just on the home front but also in international markets. The company had to constantly innovate and evolve to stay ahead in the race. One of the significant challenges during this period was the economic recession that followed the war. The post-war economy was marked by inflation and fluctuating market demands. Renault, which had heavily invested in expanding its production capabilities during the war, found itself grappling with excess capacity and declining sales. The situation was further exacerbated by the introduction of new taxes and tariffs by the French government, which added to the company's financial woes. Louis Renault, ever the visionary leader, responded to these challenges with strategic foresight and adaptability. He initiated a comprehensive reorganization of the company, streamlining operations and cutting costs. This reorganization was not just about financial prudence. It was about ensuring the company's survival and long-term sustainability in a rapidly changing economic landscape. The 1930s brought further challenges with the onset of the Great Depression. This global economic crisis had a profound impact on industries worldwide, and Renault was no exception. The company faced declining sales and increased competition, both domestically and internationally. The American market, in particular, proved to be a tough battleground, with local manufacturers dominating the scene. In response to these economic hardships, Renault diversified its product range, venturing into the production of commercial vehicles such as trucks and buses. This diversification was a strategic move, aimed at reducing the company's dependence on the passenger car market and tapping into new revenue streams. Renault also focused on improving its manufacturing efficiency and reducing production costs, essential strategies in a time of economic uncertainty. However, the economic challenges of the interwar years were not the only setbacks Renault faced. The company also grappled with internal strife, particularly labor unrest. The 1930s were a time of social and political turbulence in France, with workers demanding better wages and working conditions. Renault's factories were not immune to these upheavals. The company faced several strikes and labor disputes, which disrupted production and added to its financial strain. Despite these challenges, Renault continued to make significant advancements in automotive technology. The company introduced new models and innovations that set new benchmarks in performance, safety, and comfort. These advancements were not just about keeping up with the competition. They were about asserting Renault's position as a leader in automotive innovation. The dark cloud of World War II, allegations and arrest of Louis Renault. The onset of World War II cast a long and dark shadow over Europe, and Renault, under the leadership of Louis Renault, found itself in the midst of tumultuous and tragic times. This period was not only marked by the devastation of war, but also by profound personal and professional challenges for Louis Renault, culminating in allegations of collaboration and his subsequent arrest. As war engulfed Europe, Renault, like many industrial firms, was compelled to align its production with the war effort. The German occupation of France in 1940 placed the company in a precarious position. Faced with the daunting prospect of German requisitioning of its factories, Renault had to navigate a complex and dangerous landscape of occupation, collaboration, and resistance. Louis Renault faced a dilemma of profound moral and ethical dimensions. On one hand, he was a French patriot, deeply rooted in his country's interests. On the other hand, he was a businessman responsible for a major industrial enterprise, one that employed thousands of workers and was integral to the French economy. The choices made during this period would later come under intense scrutiny and lead to severe consequences. Under German occupation, Renault's factories were requisitioned to produce vehicles and equipment for the German war effort. This move was seen by many as an act of collaboration, although the extent of Louis Renault's willingness or reluctance to comply has been a subject of historical debate. The situation was further complicated by the fact that non-compliance could have led to the shutdown of the factories and the loss of thousands of jobs, a dilemma that many industrialists in occupied territories faced during the war. The end of the war in 1945 brought liberation to France, but for Louis Renault, it marked the beginning of a personal tragedy. In the immediate aftermath of the liberation, French authorities began to crack down on individuals suspected of collaborating with the Nazi regime. Louis Renault was among those accused of collaboration due to his company's activities during the occupation. In September 1945, Louis Renault was arrested and imprisoned, awaiting trial for his alleged collaboration. The charges against him were serious, accusing him of aiding the enemy and contributing to the German war effort. However, the circumstances of his arrest and the conditions of his imprisonment were contentious and have been the subject of much historical scrutiny. Tragically, Louis Renault never got the chance to defend himself in court. He died in October 1945 under mysterious circumstances while still in custody. The official cause of death was declared as uremia, but there were allegations of foul play and mistreatment in prison. His death marked a sad and controversial end to the life of one of France's most pioneering industrialists. The aftermath of Louis Renault's death saw the French state nationalizing his company. In the wake of the allegations against him, the French government deemed it necessary to take control of Renault. This nationalization marked a significant shift in the company's history, transforming it from a family-owned enterprise into a state-run company. Post-war rebirth and nationalization, a new era for Renault. The end of World War II and the subsequent nationalization of Renault marked a pivotal moment in the company's history. initiating a phase of rebirth and transformation. This period was characterized by the metamorphosis of Renault from a family-owned enterprise into a state-controlled industrial giant, navigating the challenges and opportunities of a post-war world. The nationalization of Renault in 1945, following the allegations and the untimely death of Louis Renault, was a watershed moment. The French state, under the leadership of General Charles de Gaulle, sought to rebuild the country's economy and infrastructure, severely ravaged by the war. The automotive industry was crucial to this endeavor, and Renault, being one of the largest automakers, was at the forefront of this national effort. The immediate post-war years were a time of significant challenges for Renault. The company's factories had suffered extensive damage during the war, particularly due to Allied bombings. Rebuilding these facilities was a monumental task. Additionally, the company had to transition its production from military to civilian vehicles, a shift that required significant changes in terms of manufacturing processes and product design. In this new era, Renault began to focus more on producing affordable and practical vehicles for the mass market. The goal was not just to revive the company's fortunes, but also to contribute to the mobility and economic recovery of France. One of the first vehicles to symbolize this new direction was the Renault 4CV, launched in 1946. The 4CV, with its small size, affordability, and efficiency, quickly became a popular choice among the French public, earning the nickname La Motte de Beurre, the lump of butter, due to its shape and the initial color scheme, which was dictated by the surplus of yellow paint left over from the German army. The 1950s and 1960s were decades of significant growth and innovation for Renault. The company expanded its product range, introducing models that would become iconic, such as the Renault Dauphine, the Renault 5, and the Renault 16. These models were not just vehicles, they were symbols of the French lifestyle and the economic resurgence of the post-war era. Renault's designs during this period were innovative, focusing on comfort, functionality, and style, reflecting the changing tastes and needs of consumers. Renault's transformation under state control also involved expanding its global footprint. The company began exporting its vehicles to various international markets, establishing production facilities abroad, and forming partnerships with other automakers. This expansion was not just about business growth, it was about establishing Renault as a global brand, synonymous with quality, innovation, and French engineering excellence. The nationalization also brought about significant changes in the company's management and operations. The French state, as the owner, played a crucial role in shaping Renault's strategies and policies. This involvement was a double-edged sword. While it provided stability and direction, it also meant that Renault had to navigate the complexities of political influences and changing government policies. The post-war period also saw Renault playing a key role in the development of new technologies and automotive innovations. The company invested heavily in research and development, leading to advancements in areas such as safety, fuel efficiency, and engine performance. Renault's commitment to innovation was evident in its pioneering work in the development of turbocharged engines and its early forays into electric vehicles.